we will look at the distance formula. The formula for distance is d equals, for distance, the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. You will be given 2 points. If you do not remember how to graph, you need to make sure that you go back and review that. You can get lots of good videos from KhanAcademy.org, or even just going to YouTube and typing in graphing if you've forgotten how to do that. For distance, though, you look at each point, and remember that in an ordered pair in a point, you have an x and a y. So this would be your first x and your first y. This would be your second x and your second y. And so we will just substitute those into our formula. For x sub 2, we have our second x, which is negative 7. Subtract the first x, which is negative 5, squared, plus the second y, which is 8, subtract the first y, which is also 8, squared. When we do our math, we have negative 7, subtract negative 5. Now, I know some of you are still not that great at positive and negative numbers, so please put that step of your math in your calculator. You don't want to get it wrong because of a sign error. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared will end up being 4. 8 minus 8 is 0, and 0 squared is 0. So we have 4 plus 0, which is 4. All that is underneath the square root, and the square root of 4 is 2. Now, that's the distance. The thing that you have to be careful about is when you have things that happen underneath the radical that you're not sure about what you're supposed to do. That one came out nice, pretty, and neat. But let's look at some things that can actually happen. Just remember that you're only plugging the numbers into the formula and doing the math. As long as you get your math right, you should be okay. But let's look at some things that can actually happen. Let's say we do our math and we end up with the square root of 45 as our answer. Now, there are two ways that you can do this. You can actually just simply take the square root of 45 and punch it in your calculator and give me an answer. If I punch the square root of 45 into my calculator, I get roughly 6.71. We put the squiggly lines there to show that it's an approximate answer. The exact answer, for those of you who may be going on further into math, would be to do something you've done previously in math classes and take the 45 and break it down into any of its two factors. Break it down as far as it will go, and for every two numbers that you have the same, a number comes out of the radical. So the answer to that one would be 3 square root of 5. If you end up with two things that come out of the radical, they would be multiplied together. So for instance, if you were breaking something down and you ended up with, let's say, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 5, you would have 2 3's here, 2 3's here, and then a 5, which would mean that a 3 would get to come out, another 3 would get to come out, but the 5 would have to stay. So our final answer would be 9 square root of 5. So those are the things that could actually happen in the way of your answer there. Just make sure that you're plugging the numbers in correctly, make sure you're getting your signs right, and make sure you're giving me either a decimal answer or an exact answer. And it just depends on how you're going into math as to which answer that it would be. Make sure that you know the difference between those for your multiple choice quizzes. If you're doing something like this and you're not sure which one of those answers actually match your answer, take all your choices and put them in the calculator until you come up with the one that matches your decimal answer.